My name is Claire Reynolds. I'm 36 years old, and this is the story of how my husband destroyed our marriage by stealing my identity, while assuming I was too small to notice. The letter came on a Tuesday, which felt appropriate. Nothing dramatic ever happened on weekends in my life. Real damage always arrived on weekdays, between grocery coupons and dentist reminders. I was standing in the kitchen barefoot, the coffee machine halfway through its cycle, when I saw my name printed across the front of a plain white envelope. Not handwritten, not personal, typed, clean, official. I opened it without thinking. That was my first mistake. Final notice. Those were the first words my eyes locked onto. I read them again, slower this time, like the sentence might rearrange itself if I gave it another chance. Final notice regarding your outstanding balance. I scanned down the page. Loan reference number, account ID, interest rate, then the amount, $78,412.36. I felt my stomach drop so suddenly I had to grab the edge of the counter. The coffee machine beeped behind me, finished, cheerful, unaware it had just become background noise to the worst moment of my adult life. I read the letter again, then again. Then I flipped it over, checking the back, like maybe the real explanation was hiding there. It wasn't. The loan was in my name. My full legal name, my social security number partially masked, my address. I hadn't taken out a loan. I didn't need to think about it. I knew. I had never signed anything for $78,000 in my life. The front door opened behind me. I heard keys hit the bowl by the door, shoes kicked off, familiar sounds, safe sounds. "Morning," my husband said. I didn't answer. He walked into the kitchen, loosened his tie, leaned down to kiss my cheek. I stepped away without meaning to. He frowned. "What's wrong?" I turned and held the letter up. "What is this?" I asked. He glanced at it. Not a long glance, not a worried one, just enough to identify it. "Oh," he said. That, I stared at him. That? I repeated. He reached past me for a mug. "Yeah, I meant to tell you." My ears rang slightly like I'd stood up too fast. "You took out a loan," I said. "In my name." He poured coffee like we were discussing the weather. "It was easier that way." I laughed once. Not because it was funny, because my brain needed to release pressure somewhere. "You didn't ask me," I said. He shrugged. "We're married." I felt cold then. Not shocked, not panicked. Cold. "That's not consent," I said. He smiled at me, actually smiled. "Claire," he said, "don't start." That was the moment something in me went quiet, because people don't smile when they're sorry. They smile when they think they're right. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I sat down at the kitchen table and folded the letter carefully like it mattered. "When?" I asked. "Did this happen?" He leaned against the counter, relaxed, confident. "Last year." "And you thought I wouldn't notice," I said. "I thought you'd understand," he said. That was worse. "How many?" I asked. He rolled his eyes. "Why are you interrogating me?" "How many loans?" I repeated. He sighed like I was ruining his morning. "3," he said. 3. My mouth felt dry. "All in my name?" I asked. "Yes." "And you didn't think to mention that," I said, "at any point." He waved his hand. "It was for the business." I looked at him. The business. A consulting firm he'd started 2 years earlier that mostly involved expensive lunches and vague emails. "Did you forge my signature?" I asked. He laughed. "That's dramatic." "Did you sign my name?" I said slowly, without asking me. He didn't answer immediately. That pause told me everything. "We share everything," he said finally. "I don't see the problem." I watched him then. Really watched him. The way he stood, the way he spoke, the way his eyes didn't flinch. He wasn't scared. He was annoyed. "You committed fraud," I said. "That's a strong word," he replied. You committed identity theft, I said. He took a sip of coffee. You're blowing this out of proportion. I felt something shift in my chest. Not fear, clarity. How bad is it? I asked. What do you mean? How much total? I said. All 3 loans. He hesitated. Just long enough. About 200,000, he said. I nodded. I didn't scream. I didn't ask why. Because the answer was already standing in front of me. He thought I belonged to him. We'd been married 9 years. People like to describe us as balanced. He's the big picture guy, they'd say. And Claire keeps everything organized. What they meant was that I handled the boring parts of life. Bills, insurance, paperwork, forms no one else wanted to read. I worked in financial compliance for a regional bank. I never talked about it much because it bored people. I never thought that would be relevant to my marriage. He never asked questions about my job. He called it desk stuff. He thought I just checked boxes. When he decided to start his business, I supported him, quietly, consistently. I proofread proposals, scheduled meetings, helped him sound smarter than he was. When it didn't make money, I didn't say, I told you so. When he started hiding mail, I noticed. But I didn't confront him, because something about it felt planned. Like he was testing how much he could get away with. And I let him, because I wanted to see how far he'd go. 2 weeks later, I found the messages, not because I was searching, because he left his laptop open on the couch while he showered. A notification popped up. A name I didn't recognize. Curiosity didn't even factor in. My body moved before my brain caught up. The messages weren't subtle. They never are. She called him driven, brilliant, underrated. He told her I was controlling. That made me smile. Because controlling people don't usually miss 6 figures disappearing under their name. They plan. I scrolled back far enough to understand the shape of it. The affair wasn't the betrayal. It was confirmation. He needed someone who thought he was impressive. Someone who didn't ask questions. Someone who believed his version of reality. I closed the laptop gently and went to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't look angry, I looked focused. And that's when I made the decision that changed everything. I wasn't going to confront him again. I wasn't going to warn him. I wasn't going to save him. I was going to let him finish what he started. There's something people misunderstand about financial crime. They think it's loud, flashy, aggressive. It isn't. It's quiet, procedural, polite. It hides behind systems that assume trust. And my husband trusted those systems completely because he'd never had to understand them. What he never asked me was what I actually did at work. Not really. He told people I worked in banking, sometimes compliance, once, embarrassingly, accounting. I never corrected him. I worked in risk oversight, specifically pattern detection and escalation. The department people don't think about until something breaks. My job was to notice what didn't look dramatic yet. Unusual borrowing behavior, identity reuse, repeated approvals that shouldn't happen. I didn't approve loans. I reviewed the systems that did, and I knew exactly how those systems thought. So when my husband told me there were 3 loans in my name, I already knew something he didn't. Those loans hadn't slipped through unnoticed. They'd been flagged. Not loudly, not publicly, quietly. And when the 3rd one went through, the system did exactly what it was designed to do. It escalated. Straight into a queue I reviewed every Thursday afternoon. I didn't see it immediately. I didn't rush. Because the worst thing you can do when someone is exposing themselves is interrupt them. I waited. Over the next few weeks, my husband relaxed. That was the first sign. He started spending more freely, ordering expensive wine at dinner, talking about cash flow like it was guaranteed. He bought a watch I knew he couldn't afford. He didn't bother hiding the receipt. When I asked about it, he grinned. "Perks of growth," he said. I nodded. "Looks nice," I said. He started coming home later. "Meetings," he said. "Networking." His phone stayed face down more often, and the mail stopped arriving altogether. I didn't ask where it was going. I already knew. One evening, he came home buzzing with energy. "I think this is finally it," he said. "I'm close to something big." I looked up from my laptop. "What kind of big?" I asked. He waved his hand vaguely. "Investment stuff. You wouldn't care." I smiled. "You're probably right," I said. That night, I logged into a system I wasn't supposed to access from home. Not illegally, just uncomfortably. I saw the accounts, all of them. 3 loans, 2 lines of credit, 1 pending extension, all in my name, all approved, all with interest ticking quietly upward, and all tied back to the same IP address, our house. I sat there for a long time looking at the screen, then I closed the laptop and went to bed beside him. He slept easily. That should have been my second warning. It happened on a Friday. He came home early, something he never did anymore. He was smiling like he'd been holding it in all day. "I need to tell you something," he said. I braced myself without showing it. "I got an offer," he said. "An offer," I repeated. "From a firm in Seattle," he said. "They want to bring me on as a partner." That was new. "That's big," I said. "I know," he said. "It's finally paying off." He paced the living room, energized. "We'll have to move," he continued, "or at least I will at first." I waited. He stopped pacing and looked at me. "This might sound crazy," he said, "but I think it's time we talked about next steps." I raised an eyebrow. "What kind of next steps?" He sat down across from me, suddenly serious. "I don't think this marriage is working," he said. There it was. Not anger, not guilt, just strategy. "I've outgrown it," he added. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not heartbreak, relief. "I see," I said. He seemed surprised by how calm I was. "I figured you'd fight," he said. "For what?" I asked. He frowned. "Us." I shook my head slightly. "No," I said. "You've been very clear." He relaxed visibly. "Good," he said. "I want this to be easy." Of course he did. "My lawyer will reach out," he added. "We'll be fair." Fair. I smiled faintly. "I'm sure," I said. He stood and kissed my forehead like he was generous. "I'll stay with a friend tonight," he said. "Give you space." I watched him pack a bag. I watched him leave. And then I sat back down at the table and opened my laptop. Because that was the moment he crossed the line he didn't know existed. He thought the damage was already done. He thought the debt was mine. He thought walking away would make it disappear. He didn't understand something critical. Debt follows ownership, and I was done owning his secrets. I didn't file for divorce right away. That was important. People expect rage. Papers slammed on tables. Threats. I didn't give him that. Instead, I gave him time. Time to believe his version of events was real. Time to believe the debt was mine. That the loans would stay quiet. That walking away made him clean. The Monday after he left, I went to work like nothing had changed. I sat at my desk, answered emails, attended meetings. At 3:17 p.m., I opened the internal risk dashboard. My name was already there. It had been there for weeks. Multiple high-value loans, single identity, same originating IP, unusual repayment behavior. The system didn't care that I was the victim. It cared that the pattern existed. All I did that afternoon was what I was required to do. I escalated, not emotionally, not personally, procedurally. I submitted a report indicating probable identity misuse with supporting documentation, signatures, timestamps, access logs. I did not accuse anyone. I didn't need to. The data spoke clearly. Once that report was filed, it stopped being my problem. It became the institution's. Things didn't explode immediately. That's not how systems work. First came the holds. My husband texted me that night. "Hey, quick question. Did you change any account settings?" I stared at the message for a long time before replying. "No," I typed. Which was true. The next day, his business account froze. Not closed, just paused. He called me. "Do you know what's going on?" he asked, irritation creeping in. "No idea," I said. "Maybe it's a bank thing." "They're asking for documentation," he said. "Stuff I already gave them." "That's annoying," I said. By Friday, his credit cards declined. He laughed it off at first. "Temporary glitch," he said when he came by to grab more clothes. He still believed he was smarter than the system. The following Monday, he didn't laugh. His lawyer called me. "I'm representing your husband," she said carefully. "There appear to be some irregularities." "I agree," I said. There was a pause. "Were you aware of the loans taken out in your name?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "And did you consent to them?" "No," I said. Silence. "I see," she said. You could hear the exact moment her strategy changed. 2 days later, the loans were reassigned, every single one, out of my name, into his, with penalties, with interest recalculated, with fraud markers attached. He showed up at my office that afternoon. Security didn't let him pass the lobby. I watched from the elevator doors as they escorted him out. He looked smaller than I remembered. The divorce was quiet, not civil. Quiet. He didn't look at me in court. He didn't argue. His lawyer avoided my eyes. By then, his business was gone. His partner offer had evaporated. The woman he'd been seeing stopped answering his calls once his accounts froze. None of that felt good. None of it felt satisfying. It felt inevitable. When the judge finalized everything, my husband finally spoke to me outside the courtroom. "You ruined me," he said. His voice wasn't angry. It was confused. I looked at him. "No," I said. "You ruined yourself." He shook his head. "You knew," he said. "Yes," I replied. "And you let it happen." "Yes," I said again. He stared at me like he was trying to reconcile two versions of reality. "I thought you were passive," he said. That almost made me smile. "I was patient," I corrected. "There's a difference." I walked away without looking back. Not triumphant, not broken, just finished.